The story opens with a brutal scene. Violet Gates, bloodied and broken, taking a vicious beating from her husband, Blake. He doesn't just stop there. The man actually hands her a loaded gun, daring her to pull the trigger. Shaking and terrified, Violet aims, but she can't bring herself to do it. Fast forward a few years, and Violet's life has taken a sharp turn. Blake is gone, dead by suicide, and Violet has rebuilt her world. She's now a therapist, dedicated to helping women break free from abusive relationships, just like she once did. She's also a mom, raising a bright young son named Toby, with help from her supportive sister, Jen. Tonight, Violet's preparing for something new, a date. It's her first in a long time, and she's unsure. As she debates which dress to wear, self-doubt creeps in. But Jen encourages her. Not all men are monsters like Blake. Boosted by those words, Violet heads out, leaving Toby in Jen's care. The date's set at an upscale restaurant called Palette. Violet's meeting Henry Campbell, a charming photographer she met through a dating app. They've been chatting for months, but this is their first face-to-face. Henry messages that he'll be a little late, so Violet confirms the reservation and makes her way through the elegant space. On her way in, she accidentally bumps into a stranger named Connor. They exchange polite apologies and go their separate ways. At the bar, she orders a glass of wine, served by a friendly bartender named Kara. While waiting, she's mistaken for someone else's date. A man named Richard approaches, thinking she's his blind date. The mix-up is brief, but they fall into easy conversation about dating and how messy it can get. Then, a pianist named Phil joins in, offering to play her a song. She declines, explaining she's waiting for someone. Eventually, Richard's real date shows up, and he leaves Violet to her solitude. Then, things take a weird turn. Violet starts receiving mysterious Digi-drops on her phone, short, anonymous messages from an unknown user. At first, she assumes it's just a prank, maybe even Richard or Phil messing around. But then Henry finally shows up. Nervous but excited, Violet greets him, and they get a table. Henry gifts her something small for Toby. It's thoughtful, and Violet appreciates it. But those drops keep coming, only now they're getting darker. The sender warns her not to ignore them. Violet shows the messages to Henry, but he brushes them off as spam or a troll. Violet isn't convinced. She feels watched, and not just by accident. She's sure someone inside the restaurant is behind this. The drops get more specific and terrifying. The stranger knows her name. Suddenly, the next message tells her to check her home security cam. Her blood runs cold. On the screen, a masked man holding a gun inside her house. The stranger tells her to keep quiet. Don't tell Henry. Don't call the cops. Violet, now spiraling in fear, excuses herself and rushes to the restroom. She checks the footage again. It's real. And then it hits her. The restaurant is bugged. Every word, every movement, someone's listening in. She returns to the table, trying to act normal. But Henry notices the shift. She's clearly shaken. He suggests they move to another table, thinking maybe she's just uncomfortable. Matt, a waiter, helps them relocate. But just as they're about to switch tables, the drops return, this time with a chilling warning. Leave, and your son dies. Violet freezes. Her heart pounds. She insists they stay where they are, making up an excuse about liking the view better. But inside, she's unraveling. The stranger isn't just watching. He's directing the night like a twisted puppet master. He tells her to dig through Henry's bag and destroy a camera's SD card. Inside, she finds damning evidence. Photos of illegal dealings tied to the city's mayor. Henry, it seems, isn't just a photographer. He's trying to expose something big. She eventually obeyed and smashed the SD card as he instructed. In the bathroom, just like he mandated, she finds a vial of poison tucked inside the towel dispenser. Her fingers tremble as she picks it up. The user instructed she uses it on Henry. She hesitated at first, then the user reminded her of her ugly past with Blake. Now left with no other option than to do what the user told her to. She was in a state of utter disarray. She went back to the reception to see if she could get help, but her efforts were fruitless. Then she noticed Connor is the only one without a date in the entire restaurant, and this made her suspect he's the unknown user. She confronts him, desperate for answers, but he plays it cool. No evidence. No slip-ups. Just a smug face and silence. She headed back to her table, without getting the answer she sought for. Henry starts sensing something's off. Violet's distant. Skittish. He's about to leave, but Violet pulls him into a deep-rooted kiss. Afterwards, she opened up about her past with Blake. She's trying to buy time, and the stranger's next instruction hits her like a brick. He wants her to kill Henry. Violet's world spins. The stranger isn't bluffing. He's demanding blood. She can't go through with a plan. Not yet. So, she scribbles a note and slips it to the pianist, Phil, as discreetly as she can. He starts to leave the restaurant with the note, but stumbles. And then he collapses. Dead. Poisoned. Just like that. For the fact she tried to go against his commands, the masked hitman knocked Jen out cold and violently captured Toby. The stranger's messages now turn furious. He mocks her, calls her pathetic, tells her she's out of time. Violet panics. She orders 2 shots and secretly poisons one, Henry's. As he lifts the glass to drink, she slaps it from his hand, causing a scene. Broken glass, spilled liquor. It buys her a few seconds. Enough for Henry to walk away and clean up. Kara, the bartender, approaches and casually mentions something strange. Richard, the man from earlier, has been watching Violet all night. Something clicks. Violet walks over to Richard, now alone at his table. She offers him the shots. He smirks, accepts. And then he drops the mask. Richard is the stranger. The drops, the threats, the surveillance, it was all him. He tells her the truth. Henry's set to testify against the mayor, Richard's boss. If Henry talks, the whole operation collapses. So Richard's plan? Kill Henry and frame Violet for it. After all, people still whisper about Blake's death. The narrative would be easy. Henry walks in mid-conversation. Richard doesn't flinch. Violet offered the shot to Henry. Richard watches as Henry lifts the shot glass and drinks it down. But Violet doesn't panic. In fact, she looks calm. Then she drops her own bombshell. She never poisoned Henry's drink. Rather, she poisoned Richard's dessert. His smile vanishes. Enraged, Richard pulls out a gun and fires at Violet. But Henry leaps in front of her, taking the bullet. Chaos erupts. A violent struggle breaks out. Kara sought to help Violet, but Richard stabbed her in the back in the process. Glass shatters. The restaurant window explodes as Violet and Richard crash through it. Richard plunges to his death, while Violet held onto a curtain which kept her from falling. Henry, injured but alive, hauls Violet to safety. Back at the house, the nightmare isn't over. Jen is fighting for her life. She and Toby try to escape the masked man, but she's shot in the process. Violet arrives just in time. She rushes in, weapon in hand, and tries to fight him off, but he's too strong. He pins her, ready to end it. That's when Toby appears, gun in hand. He tosses it to his mother. Bang. Violet doesn't miss. The intruder drops. Violet was immensely happy to see her son was unscathed, and also, Jen happened to survive the gunshot. Time passes. Wounds heal. Justice rises. The mayor's corruption is exposed. He's under investigation, and Henry is recovering in the hospital. Violet visits him there, a faint smile finally returning to her face. She made it out. So did her family. And just as she starts to relax, her phone buzzes. A Digi-drop. It's from Jen, a prank. Everyone laughs. And as for Violet and Henry, they're already planning their second date. If you enjoyed that twist, hit like, drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more wild stories like this.